one-on-one map here for these guys. You're very far apart. We could have a pretty epic late game if it does go into a game like that. We've seen that Snute is more than competent amongst some of the oldest, most legendary players like Jaedong here today. I think this definitely could be a game Snute takes.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, even in the short term, we saw it. If it was like a build order win game number 1, this series would kind of suck, and we'd be like, well, maybe, maybe not. But no, in convincing fashion, he's jousted with Jaedong and done just fine for himself. We see a pool first here from the blue Zerg, Snute, playing it safe, and Jaedong taking advantage of that kind of mental beating he gave him in game number 2. Again, something DeMuslin brought up, which is a really good point when talking about a series, especially on a big stage like this. What does that cheese do? And Snute comes out playing very conservative in game number 3. Jaedong, right back to those kind of risky plays.
And it's also important to highlight here, although we do have one guy going for a pull and one guy going for a hatch, neither move here is really dramatic and impactful.
Not super dramatic,
early on, right? They can both still end up at roughly the same spot while still going or getting there, you can say, in different directions.
Absolutely. Hatch first versus pool is very small in terms of the differences, but if you polled all the Zerg players, they'd be like, oh no, I'd like to go 9 hatches before pool if I could. They would prefer to pump it all out. But as we can see, the gas is being added for Snute behind this. And then on the flip side from our red Zerg, no gas just yet. So, what? Okay, no, those just finished. Never mind.
Yeah, so no gas just yet. Now with the pool finishing pretty soon here for Jaedong, he is going to need to get those queens out and start driving out the overlords. But let's think about our first game that we casted here between these two guys. One thing Jaedong was doing well, even though he did manage to win the game with it, was that he had a beautiful overlord spread on the map.
Yeah.
Snute did not come with a lot of surprises. It's more like Jaedong came with a lot of miscalculations there that allowed that big attack to come destroy him. I'm interested in seeing if we're going to have a similar situation here in game number 3 now, but with Jaedong making a few calculated adjustments into his play, because Snute did not have a lot of overlord presence on the map.
No.
I mean, there were a lot of ways that Jaedong was he very easily surprised Snute.
Well, Tasteless, you're talking about a really key element that is a big part of Jaedong's success or failure, and in that game number 1, you're right. It was overlord spread, but also he had an overseer just perusing at will all game long, and in particular the first 15 minutes. And that led him to saying, okay, you're going roaches now, you've got banelings now. He was ahead of the curve in all those respects. And it got him to a point where, I don't know about you, but I felt like Jaedong was very close to a very sure win, but Snute was able to engage a lot better. The mistakes happened, we talked about that. But Jaedong, you're right, he's very good at getting that intel, and as we can see here, does it once again with just 2 lings.
It was funny to see that happen in that first game as well, because normally we see one-sided overlord presence on the map when you have mutas out, and that's when they clear everything out. But in that last game, that was an interesting occurrence. Now we have our players teching up and droning up. We have 2 extractors here for Jaedong. And now we have just still 2 here for Snute, but taken in different locations. I don't think we're going to have any heavy engagements for a little bit. They're both playing pretty passively.
Yeah. A lot of times players will get out 20-ish speedlings around this time to try and either defend their third base attempt or even harass their opponents. Snute opting for the very fast lair, and conversely, we don't see a lair, I believe, from Jaedong. If you could check. No lair from him, which is really weird because a lot of times when players do that, they have a fast third. So there's a chance that he's doing a Ling Roach timing attack here on this medium-sized map, which would be cool. Conversely, I wonder if Snute's going to opt for... No, he's not going for Spire either. Interesting.
Well, with the third base being taken here from Snute, let's really watch and see what the next few moves Jaedong makes are. He's got 8 lings now making. Let's see if he adds much more to this, or if he pulls up larvae here for those roaches. You can always do some of these roach timing attacks here, where you get a good number of roaches, and then follow that up with lings being made behind that, because the lings are so fast they can catch up and meet up with the roaches. One of the funny situations where lings are really tanking the damage and the roaches are dealing them.
Yeah. I'll have to see how that develops. He's actually going to work on the rocks in the backfield. That's interesting. I'm not sure if that's to then expand there, or if he wants to potentially take advantage of maybe a lack of an overlord. Or there's something you talked about earlier where Snute didn't see that. He could sneak out. There is actually no vision back there.
The fact that he ran back when that overlord came over there, I think you're right. I think he might be trying to come out here and surprise his opponent.
This is a lot of lings, by the way. A lot of lings.
And this is actually, this could really mess Snute up here. Normally, guys, when we see one guy on 2 base and the other guy on 3, it's the guy on the 3 bases that's trying to get more circulation between his bases. But in this case, it's actually being used. He's tearing down the rocks for a sneak attack now, and I don't know if Snute's going to be ready. The Lings are splitting. The question is, can Snute hang on and live through this attack with enough drones and defense?
Great angle on the ramp. That's the beginning of it. He denies entry into the main, but also much so and more importantly, does not give the Lings surface area. And Jaedong is going to the natural to try to do what damage he can. The attack at the 3rd has been repelled. No entry into the main. And Jaedong, so far, is not getting it done. I feel like Snute takes a big win here.
And keep in mind, Jaedong tore down that entrance in the back of his base now. That's completely exposed. There could be multi-pronged attacks here that could go very effectively from Snute.
Snute with a huge army supply lead there. Thank you, Funka. And now, basically, if Jaedong can buy time with lane counters, he should be okay. But man, what if? Snute has not only a larger army supply, but a significantly more powerful army. These roaches are very good, whereas Zerglings are really not meant to be fighting those roaches. They need to be harassing or doing something else. And Jaedong is on the back foot. He's in trouble.
I think if he hadn't gotten those roaches to the ramp, this game could look very different.
Yeah.
But there were not enough drones executed in those multi-pronged attacks there for that to really pay off. Jaedong now has to play defensive. He may want to lean on counterattacks. We see that small group of Lings down there at the bottom center, probably going to be used to attack when he sees roaches moving out, like we're seeing right now. But Snute barreling now, either towards the 2nd or the 3rd here. Jaedong counterattacking, but already some roaches there with the drones to defend. The roaches coming up now and going towards the 3rd.
Snute has a huge army lead. Jaedong is going to try to rely on angles to defend. He's actually pushing forward very brazenly, and that counterattack does get, well, for the most part, cleaned up. Some extra damage being done there. Snute is going to disengage and back up. The supplies, the gap's kind of closing here. He's giving Jaedong more time. It's interesting. Jaedong seems to be okay, I guess, despite being down 20 army supply.
Yeah, Snute evaluated that and said, nope, better safe than sorry right now. And is regrouping over here in the middle of the map. Jaedong, again, still trying to just do a little bit of catch-up. There's a minor lead here by Snute, but it's not particularly consequential because the travel distance across the map, let's say Snute attacks, I mean, then by then it should be evened out once Jaedong's units hatch.
I'll tell you, my heart's beating a million miles per hour because it looked scary for a second there. Snute did, I mean, he was going for the throat, but he ends up
I thought he was going to go for it,
yeah,
actually. I think he might have actually been able to take that out.
And really great play by him, by the way, because while he was going for it, he had the peace of mind to leave behind 2 to 3 roaches at that 3rd, which made that lane counter, sure, harmful, but not what it could have been. Snute, truly one of the marks of a really cool player that's kind of developing is someone that can make choices like that on a stage facing a player like Jaedong. Snute's playing great.
Yeah, he's playing very well.
And there's those peeping Tom overseers, by the way, that Jaedong, all series long, been doing a very good job of this.
Yeah, he's had a magnificent scouting. The question now is, what does Snute do next? I feel like the way we've seen Snute playing from game number 1, he saw a lot of windows of opportunity to end the game, but he was not somebody who was interested in playing the safer defensive mode and waiting for his opponent, let's say after Snute gets a lead, to make a mistake. And right now, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to hurt each other as easily. But as I say that now, Jaedong's opted to be the aggressor. Can Snute get in the good position? Roach v. Roach in this phase of the game. By the way, +1 about to finish up here, so they're going to be even. +1 for Jaedong. Roach v. Roach can be a lot about just the positioning.
And Jaedong's the one that's sticking to roaches, and that ended up being part of his undoing in game number 1. Snute already getting that passaging gland upgrade. We can see some infestors starting to come out. 5 queued up right now. Infestors by themselves aren't necessarily spelling certain doom for Jaedong, but that's the beginning of it. Jaedong, again, kind of one-dimensional about this. He needs to engage pretty soon while this advantage is still his. There we go. There's the big concave. He's going to do it now.
Very confident attack from Jaedong as he shoves in and continues to move forward now as additional roaches pile on. The rallies have been set here. More and more roaches coming down, but a nice fungal there at the heart of that roach army.
And Jaedong trying to get the concave. He's separating his units just a little bit. It's going to be really close again. Keep in mind, Snute can reinforce better, but those infestors represent no DPS whatsoever. A lot of those roaches of Jaedong are very, very ready. He's going to back up, and it looks like Snute has repelled Jaedong for now.
Jaedong now trying to recuperate here, taking more gases. and just trying to go back to teching up. The attack has failed. By the way, armor about to finish here for Snute. At this point in time, Jaedong needs to turn around. He cannot do more damage here.
And once again, we're in that same situation from game number 1, where Jaedong's just piling out the roaches kind of on a one-track mind, and Snute already has the infestors. And again, something we've seen in ZVZ is players will make infestors, and due to the stress of the battle, they'll wander to the front and die very easily. But Snute doing such a good job of keeping them alive, they are going to be a big part of his mid-game.
All right, the roaches now coming down here. The angle not bad for Jaedong, but Snute with confidence shoves in to making an escape more difficult. And that armor upgrade, by the way, is done for Snute. The infestors getting into position as well here. Jaedong still trying to press forward with the attack as he regroups.
He's getting pushed back. The reinforcement is just too much. Snute taking a 20 supply advantage. He has the tech advantage. Jaedong is not building any tech structures behind this. He's just, again, piling out more roaches, and it hasn't worked. Snute is not allowing for counterattacks. He is not allowing for his economy to get chipped away, and he's maintaining this advantage and now adding a Hydralisk Den as well. It's not looking good for Jaedong.
I'm really worried for Jaedong right now. He's got this 4th base up at the center left location, but Jaedong has hemorrhaged a lot of units trying to be aggressive over here on Snute. If Snute gets into a good position and has that proper intel to watch for counterattacks so he can preempt that, I could easily see Snute pushing out, crushing that 4th base, not stopping, going all the way to the 2nd and then into the main, ultimately winning a game, leaving us with what would be a huge upset of Jaedong being knocked out in the round of 8.
And a well-deserved one. Jaedong kind of snuck a win in game number 2, pulling out a build order win, but at game number 1 and so far in game number 3, Snute is out playing Jaedong in a long game of ZVZ. If you look at that production tab, we see, again, Hydralisk coming out, Spine Crawlers as well. Very defensive posture from Snute. It seems to be the correct answer. Jaedong is locked into this kind of, again, one-track mind in the sense that he's just making roaches and he's just attacking. There doesn't seem to be much in the way of a contingency plan outside of that 4th base. That's really all he has going for him.
I'm wondering if he's banking on Snute just being a little bit too well-rounded, teching too cleanly, getting a few extra drones, whereas this kind of lopsided tech tree that we got here from Jaedong might be able to allow him to then transition later on into a more proper endgame Zerg army.
I have to agree with you. I feel like basically Jaedong was hoping after all these attacks that Snute would get caught moving out into the middle of the map, getting his infestors exposed and getting surrounded by, again, Jaedong that's just piling out the roaches, but it just never happened. Snute would take an advantage, defend the fight, and then sit back and say, I'm going to build on this by achieving, again, equal economy, same upgrades, but better tech, Hydras and infestors.
A very nice spread here from Snute. Jaedong itching to do some damage here. Now, a lot of this may be simply he wants to attack if Snute leaves. And that's why he's going to try to tear open this location over by the 2nd.
And this is a nice move. So far, Snute doesn't see it. He would have to actually very specifically look over there because none of the roaches are being spotted by vision. They might be now. Yeah, one of them is giving away the whole group. That son of a bee, that traitor over there. But it's too late. The rocks are down, and Snute's moving out to the middle of the map. This counterattack, again, it needs to do a lot of damage because Jaedong is disadvantaged in terms of the army back at home.
Jaedong counterattacking now towards the south center here, trying to hit the 3rd. There are spine crawlers there, but at the same time, the army for Snute is going up towards in between the 2nd and the 3rd. Jaedong,
he gets the infestors in the middle of the map.
Fungals.
Huge fungals go down, but that'll be null and void when they heal as they go away. Jaedong's going for the base trade.
Jaedong is going for it. The drones are being massacred, and it's hard to call this one at this point in time. They are both completely getting annihilated back at home. It's going to be, at this point in time, I think a race to who has constructions left over.
It's going to get weird, but Tasteless, I like what Jaedong's doing over this 4th base. He's making a sea of Spine Crawlers, and Spine Crawlers are actually quite good against Roach and Hydra. The natural is dead. Snute is fighting as best he can. The Spine Crawlers have been found, though. Does Snute make a beeline for it? It's actually getting popped out here in the main as well. Spine Crawlers for Snute as well. And it looks like Snute says, okay, I know what you're doing. I need to get over there and clean it up right now.
He needs to take this out fast. Moving in now, throwing down Infested Terrans. It is all going to come down to this one moment. It looks like Jaedong now headed back here to try to meet up with his Spine Crawlers. It's not clear if Snute's going to have enough. As you can see, Spine Crawlers keep finishing just barely before the other ones are killed off.
This is interesting because there's Hydras in there, and actually they have really good range. So Jaedong's going to try to get in on this. He moves in. Supply-wise, Snute still has a huge advantage, but Jaedong seems to be winning this fight for right now. It's too close to call. There's a lot of red. There's a lot of blue. The infested be cleaned up, and it looks like it's going to be close.
Jaedong is still doing so much damage here, but he has cleaned up Snute's army that was attacking that expansion.
Oh my gosh.
Burrowing to regen. And I don't know if there's much left that Snute can do at this point in time. We have
Snute.
10 more roaches, by the way, about to pop out. There they are coming now.
Snute's long distance mining it is natural. He's got Hydras. He's actually moving out on the map. He needs to be super careful. Hydras by themselves will lose to a close to equal number of roaches. And it's Jaedong that's actually still producing. Snute's moving forward with spine crawlers. He's going to be aggressive with spine crawlers. This is
madness.
I can't.
He's coming out now. Now, I think all Jaedong's going to have to do is intercept these spine crawlers on their way over here.
Yeah, Snute thinks twice about this. I think that's the right call. It's cool to be cute, but my God, man, you're in an amazing game with Jaedong
he's
right
really
now.
Screwed up the meta on the ladder after this, man. Okay, so he's going back now, getting the spine crawlers over here to defend. But you got to look at what Jaedong managed to salvage here. This fresh base in the center left. This is going to yield a serious profit in the long run.
Jaedong has him pinned. Tasteless.
Yes.
Basically, Snute has to hang back. Yes, that's a lot of spine crawlers, and he could defend, but you can't be aggressive with Hydras out on the map.
Yeah.
So how early does Jaedong recognize this? Because if he does, he actually still has 2 bases to potentially mine from, not including the shamble at his main. But he could just put drones out there and have a huge economy. He's got a big supply lead as it is right now.
It seems like all Jaedong needs to do is wait at the 2 expansions outside of Snute's base.
Yeah.
Snute can't leave because, as you said very wisely, the Hydras are not going to get anywhere.
They can't
on the map.
do it.
They can't do it.
I mean, look at those spine crawlers, too. You know what? That's actually, Snute might have betrayed himself. By making that many spine crawlers, Jaedong is forced to realize he can't just make roaches right now. He's like, oh, I guess I have to, at minute, 30 some odd, I got to make something else.
You can see he's inching out with the Hydras, but all he has to do, Jaedong is, back away when he sees the Hydras and then move back here to make sure there's no more creep there so the Hydras can move around on it.
He says, yeah, please do. Come outside, please.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
Is it a big come at me, bro?
It's a big come at me, bro.
We do see the infestation pit for Jaedong, and that means he is going to start making his own infestors, which, again, I like this because this shows Jaedong is starting to think to the longer game from this perspective. If it was something like, well, I need to, I don't know, crack those spine crawlers, it gets dangerous. But for him, he is now the advantage player. He should not be thinking about busting Snute. He should be thinking about containing him and building on his advantage.
This is becoming pretty dire right now here for Snute. It's very clear that with this mobility, and especially with Jaedong's experience, I don't know if there's really anything Snute can do.
It's tough.
You can't really blame Jaedong for being somewhat passive right now. This is not his problem. This is Snute's problem.
Yeah.
Snute is running out of time, and if he doesn't get an answer in the next few minutes here, he's going to be underwater, buddy.
He's moving out, but it's a little bit late. Tasteless, the infestors are out. They do have the pathogen gland upgrade, so they're ready to go. And roaches with those infestors should be what it takes to crack Hydras versus infestors. And you can see Jaedong actually being even more annoying. But this is actually nice. Not only does it delay that hatchery, but it actually gives the intel that he says, okay, he's doing it. He's moving out of his little spine forest.
And when you see him move out of his little spine forest there, he's also essentially declaring that, okay, I'm comfortable if you try to attack me. But at the same time, he got a good glimpse with that burrowed roach to the army there. Jaedong's in a great spot here. And we have problems.
Yeah, we had to actually take a pause.
Dun, dun, dun.
A lot of people on Twitter were reporting that if this game maintained this level of intensity, they would actually just die and have a heart attack, so we need to slow things down. Guys, it's only a game. Get up, shake out your limbs, do what Artosis does, eat some foliage, and then come back, and we'll continue the excitement.
Okay,
Artosis,
so
speaking of bushes, how you doing?
This is so crazy, this game. Like, we thought for sure that Jaedong was going to lose this. Like, he made all those lings. It looked like he might do something, did nothing. Snute gets way ahead. What is this comeback that we've seen? Like, Jaedong has engineered something that I never thought possible. He's, like, going into a base trade in ZVZ and then putting down how many spines of that base and then coming back and using, like, burrow move and just fantastic play.
This is a bit antithetical to what we would
it's a really good word.
say. It's a great word. I mean, your SAT scores are going to go up watching the DreamHack here. It's antithetical to what we know, but not anachronistic. To
Stop it, please.
What we think of as a ZVZ. ZVZ is not a base trade matchup. It's not like TVT where we say, okay, the buildings can fly. There's a lot of interesting circumstances that can occur. Or let's say a DT situation, PvP, where, okay, you don't have detection. All they have to do is eliminate your buildings, but there's ways to sandbag that problem. This was a pretty cool move. because he just pulled a fast one on him. And you can do this in late game ZVZ when you look at it because you have so many drones. And instead of just making 15 more roaches, fine. 15 more spine crawlers or more. And if they're not attacking in the right location, and every base trade endgame scenario like that is a completely different beast. I mean, this is something you can only get good at by just playing a lot and getting in these situations a lot. So I really love what we're seeing here so far from Jaedong.
What a hell of a series, to be honest with you. Game 2, obviously very straightforward, kind of boring in that way. But game number 1, inspired by Snute. Game number 3, to be honest, I was already preparing myself for just Jaedong getting outplayed, and that's it. And we've been there before. Jaedong has been slotted to be the favorite against Stardust many DreamHacks ago. And then Hyun lost both of those. Here against Snute. Snute, extremely good player, but a foreigner. Jaedong should win this. And Snute was manhandling, but he had one thing, as far as I can tell, and at the time I didn't see this, but if he had to win that base trade. And Snute, I felt like handled it really well for the most part, but getting his infestors caught in the middle of the map as well was one of those final tipping points where it said, okay, what advantage did Snute have? Roach, Hydra, Infestor, take out the Infestors. Now he's fighting a Spinecrawler forest with just a few Hydras. That's not the advantage he needs.
All right, we have the booth doors open right now, so we don't want to talk much more about what's
I feel
going
good, though,
on
because I think Snute was aware of that. Yeah.
All right. But
I lost the what?
It's like, I don't have any infestors.
He's going carriers, but he can't do that in this part of the game. This part of the game.
That's a late game
The
techie
meta's
idiot.
not there yet in control. Anyways, when we get whatever this issue is resolved, we're going
Look,
to
I got to throw this out there,
Yeah,
because we are always talking about, and of course the Team Liquid teammates right there.
Whoa.
Bunny will be playing next. Going to be pretty awesome.
With Coach Dario.
Snute continues to beat Koreans, and he's already won a tournament. Here he is. Whether he beats Jaedong or loses to Jaedong,
We're proud of him.
well, he's shown that he's basically the same level in Jaedong's probably best matchup. I mean, it's
at least the matchup Jaedong road to get here.
I mean, with Nano and Stefano kind of going into retirement, it felt like the foreign or the European scene, as the Muslim would call it, drying up a little bit. Like we don't have the real contenders, but Snute is stepping right up to the plate and showing that he's actually Korean level.
No, he absolutely
Coach
is.
Park was not screwing around when he said that this guy would be the best foreigner.
Well, and you can see it here it's such a high-pressure event, deep into the tournament. This is a technical endgame scenario, and they're already 1-1. I mean, this is a real treat to cast. And
Jaedong had to cheese him to get a win.
Yeah, he did. And here we are, and I don't want to call this endgame scenario cheesy, but I mean, this is really what fundamentally makes RTS games beautiful is these kind of scenarios. For me personally, I don't know if you guys agree, but for me, it's the endgame scenarios like this where I'm like, okay, well, we've had a fast-paced economy game the whole time. Now it's a weird chess game.
I love chaotic games. Those are some of my absolute favorites. And for both these players, chaotic games are kind of where they're at home. Jaedong's very refined, very clean, but I remember a lot of games in the past where I saw Snute. I'm not going to try to be fancy. Look, I'm American. I mispronounce everything. Artosis is proof of this. Snute is extremely chaotic, very good at kind of the small decisions and the few units being microed very well. We saw that even this game. The huge Ling strategy, I'm not a huge fan of it, but if they get into the main, as Tesa said earlier, it's a different game. They're trashing queens, they're getting drones, they're spreading Snute out, because it's not the DPS of Snute that was the defending characteristic there. It was that he was blocking entryways and not giving surface area. It was just magnificently well done.
We are going to be reloading the game from the replay, so we should be getting this back pretty soon. I'm sure we've saved a lot of nerds' faces from exploding from the awesomeness that might have not
just
been.
Slow it down.
Really, you can't take it all in at once. I mean, you can kill a man this way. So when we have that up and ready, we're going to go there. Are you guys having fun here in Bucharest? This is cool.
Great audience.
Yeah, this is really cool.
I hope you guys at home can look at that and be like, cool, esports. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how we
esports is
feel.
real. We're finally here.
We got all these people that come in here to watch us play games.
Okay, so I'm still waiting for the replay to get called up here. But for now, this is going to be a tricky situation. It does appear that the booths are all shut and everything. So let's talk a little bit more
You ask all the questions.
He touched me.
I want. It's not fair. I want to throw a few back at you.
Go ahead.
How are you doing? How do you feel?
I'm really good.
Awesome.
I'm really happy. Thanks.
Wow.
I could see why you ask all the questions.
I just got informed by the 2 more minutes before we go into this game.
Great, you got 2 minutes to tell me emotionally how you're doing.
Emotionally,
how's
I'm ecstatic, man. I mean, I'm here in Romania, meeting all these awesome people. These games kick ass. It's only the round of 8.
I feel like your passion is at an all-time high right now. Where would you measure your passion?
The passion right now is at a 10 right now on the passion.
Out of 10, I assume, not 100. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's
good.
It'll go back down after the tournament's done with it. Right? It kind of fluctuates, all right? We got to get the Tasteless Passion weatherman in here to kind of figure out where exactly that's going to be. And
He's
that's
on Reddit somewhere.
That's based off a lot of internet butterfly flaps going on somewhere that could just cause a passion hurricane somewhere else in the world. So you really just don't know. The dong is strong. This is true. That person is a poet and they weren't even aware of it. Wow.
If you don't start this game soon, Nick will just start reading signs in the audience.
This is where the audience becomes my teleprompter. I'm like, help!
Oh, wow.
I don't know how to use these cue cards. I just drew a bunch of dicks on these things, and now we're still waiting for this game to start. Well, I'm really interested in seeing how much longer this game's actually going to go, because it did seem like we were getting into a pretty tough spot.
It's dire straits for Snute right now.
It's now up to
Snoot
Snute to pull the big comeback, I feel.
Yeah, but how do you do that? Because Jaedong is just playing this
apparently you counterattack, I guess.
But there's spine crawlers everywhere now. It's not going to work as well anymore.
You got to bring your spine crawlers too. I guess you almost did that.
He almost did.
That was cool.
The Muslim, buddy. Your thoughts after seeing this ZVZ here and how things have developed? You now have a working mic, so... You're no longer like the Sir Ilian Payne nerd here that just simply stands here while the rest people in the King's Court speak.
You just spoiled that he
There's
can't
someone
talk.
named Sir Ilian Payne.
You just spoiled that he can't talk. Spoiler alert. Also, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad.
No!
Moving on in the massive spoiler lineup here. What are your thoughts, though, on this CVZ that we just saw?
This CVZ has been crazy so far. Like, the first 2 games, they kind of went as they should. Like, the macro player, Snute, was winning. He got a lead early on. But this third game, I really thought Snute won.
Yes.
He was marching across the map with a superior army. Roach, Hydra with Infestors sprinkled in. Yes, he got a few Infestors caught. But then Jaedong killed the rocks, then ran past the natural straight for the third with his Roach army, kind of forcing a base trade situation. It was very smart movement by Jaedong. But also, then with all the spine crawlers coming up, that was his one chance of getting back into this game that I didn't think was possible, and he took it.
And at the 4th, if he spines up the main, he's in the same situation as Snute, but without the income, and he's on Roaches instead of Hydras. It's really interesting. He made all the right choices to get that keyhole potential victory.
And the tunneling claws into the Hydra army, too. That was so amazing.
That was
close.
sick.
Yeah.
You know what I really loved about that base trade and the spines of the 4th is all they did was buy him exactly enough time to do more damage to Snute than Snute did to him and get his army back. Yeah. That's like all it did, and that's what's making all the difference, because Snute had like the 1 hatchery in his main base left, whereas Jaedong had 3 hatches left. So, I mean, that is all the difference in the world.
This game's not over yet. Snute still has a chance, but I can't help but to say, I feel really bad if this win does get robbed away from Snute, because he had it. He had it. He was crushing Jaedong, and he gets robbed so far. But I'll tell you what's so good about Starcraft, like we've been talking about this whole time, what if Snute brought it back again? I mean, again, on paper, it looks like there's no chance, but he's a good enough player to do it.
And Hydralisk with fungal Roaches being out of range, like, they can do it, and he's got a lot of spine crawlers on the map. I really like how Jaedong killed those rocks earlier for the Ling run by, and now he's used that expansion as the game went. Potential game winning
spoilers.
Expansion. Yes. Sorry.
Well, I don't
Jamie
think we have to
Lannister.
worry for too much longer. The replay's almost done recovering here. But, it's been a real treat to see these guys duking it out like this. Because, honestly, with you and me, Artosis, we spend so much time casting GSL. I do miss seeing the foreigners really put up a good fight against Koreans.
It's been a while since we've had one over there kicking ass, so it's quite nice.
We sent Scarlet, I believe.
Yeah, she's over there right now. So
who is North American, by the way.
Well,
yeah, and that's why she's such a great caster. Thank you, Controla. All right, well, this is still taking a
Best
little
of luck to her, by the way.
There is one more thing about that run by. I know that we keep on kind of jumping around and going back to it, but like there were so many interesting and intelligent parts to it that there's one other piece I do have to mention is when he sent the initial Roach counterattack, he skipped going into the main, and me and Muslim were like, what? He's going to the third? There's like spines there and stuff. But by going to the third, that's like how he got the extra damage to actually kill the base.
It was the mining base, yeah.
He planned the entire thing out. It was...
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we were talking so much about like, well, In Control and I, when we were casting it, like, what is going on here? And we were, speculating. Well, I mean, maybe he's trying to do this and get him in to where his, army is lopsided.
You ever get that weird feeling we're pawns in Jaedong's game? Like this is all he sees it. He sees it.
No,
all.
I don't really get that feeling.
Neither do I. It'd be epic if we did, though. That'd be kind of cool.
No, that'd be kind of paranoid and weird to me, right? So no, I don't really think that at all.
Thank you, Artosis.
No problem.
We are just waiting for the replay to recover here. It's going at a record slow speed on this PC, at a comically low speed at this
Gives
point
us more
in
time to talk, and
It's
for
good.
Artosis to shoot down my ideas super hard.
He tried. Man. Well, Jaedong here, he's been tearing through here with ZVZ and doing just such a fantastic job at that matchup to the point where we can see he's so good at it. He's showing us a new way to play that matchup. From here on out, I mean, if Snute, because Snute's playing like a badass so far, is anybody going to play as well as Snute and take him out? What do you think?
Yes, I think Jaedong will.
Excuse me, that's Snute. Jaedong's not Snute. I was testing you and you've done
Hey,
very well.
Impact
All right.
has been playing super hot.
The next
if
test is
Jaedong gets
coming,
past
don't worry.
this, if Jaedong gets past this, he's got a tough opponent. There we go.
Oh, the game's in! Let's go crazy! All right, so back to where we were now that we can really talk about this game and not worry too much about the booths being open here. He's moving out now with these infestors over here in the south, trying to reclaim this location. The spine crawlers are going to be headed over here as well. Jaedong has had an expansion up in the center left that's been up and running for quite a while now.
Yeah, he's been up basically 1.5 mining bases. That original third that he took is at half mass. If you, that's just a weird way to describe it. It doesn't have a lot of minerals left, and he's not mining the gas over there. But Snute's moving down. In doing so, he's kind of exposing himself. You'll notice he left some spine crawlers back at that natural. Oh.
All right, what's he got in
He's
store
going to shove
for
forward.
us
He's
here?
going to be aggressive. He wants to challenge this this third base attempt, perhaps.
Talk about a real break in emotional tempo there for these two guys. It's such a big climax, and now they got to get back into this game. So it looks like the Roaches are now burrowed and moving forward over here in the center right. And the question is Snute going to be prepared or caught off guard by this movement right here?
He's going to see it at the very last second. He's got an overseer there, so he will see it, but the creep's not going to give him the go-ahead. And Jaedong, again, pushes forward, sees that there is an overseer there, sees that the army is within striking distance. And I don't know, well, as I say that, he's still making his way over here. Jaedong seems to like this idea. He's going to do it.
Okay, he's coming up.
He's
in a good spot. But a nice fungal there in the back, making most of those Roaches unable to attack.
Gosh.
And he might be able to keep chain fungling this from here. There is another infestor with energy. It's a little bit far back, and those Roaches do manage to escape out. But taking out the hatchery before making their exit.
Jaedong was giving him as much surface area for those fungals as is possible. It was a disastrous situation. He's going to make good on it by picking off the hatchery. And then he actually did escape before the chains just kept him in that spot. But Snute was moments away from gloriousness. Now, what we do have going for Jaedong is behind this, he's got fully charged infestors out there.
Yes, and a lot of them at that. He's all grouped up over here, a little bit to the left of the center. Burrowed Roaches now coming up here.
If those three infestors find the grouped up infestors, oh no, he's going to go after the third. Okay, but man, Jaedong's going to be careful.
That could still be incredibly effective as well here. Now he's got to be careful with those Hydras. The Roaches are now coming up. Every unit so important right now as both these guys are really economically crippled. The infested Terrans are hatching, and that expansion will be no more. Meanwhile, Jaedong trying to close in here from multiple sides outside of Snute's base.
And Jaedong is going to lose that third in the hardest of ways.